The lights died without warning. One moment, the lab hummed with its usual static. The next, everything was drenched in black. Circuits snapped, consoles blinked out. The only sound was the faint whine of a wind passing over the hill outside. "Nicholas," a voice echoed. "I'm okay," Nicholas said, but his hand instinctively sparked tiny bolts dancing between his fingers like fireflies. "I think we just lost power." Another voice replied, steady, warm, "We'll handle it. Just stay calm." But calm was impossible when the past was clawing at the door. Nicholas had always been different. He didn't need a power grid. His body was one. Electricity ran through him like blood. At first it terrified him, then it fascinated him. Now it defined him. But tonight something else stirred beneath the surface, a pull, a whisper from another life. He'd felt it earlier that day when he stumbled across the old box in the attic of the safe house, dusty, unlabeled, forgotten. Inside, a photo album. The first page showed a toddler with silver-flecked eyes, held by a man and woman whose faces seemed both familiar and foreign. His parents? The memory was fragmented, like static. The second photo was torn, the third half burned. By the fourth, Nicholas was shaken. He didn't remember these moments, but his heart did. "I need to know," he said aloud, gripping the photo of the woman who might have been his mother. Pine looked up from the corner of the room, pine cones floating around him in slow, hypnotic spirals. "Where are you going?" "Home," Nicholas whispered. That night, under a blood-born sky, Nicholas walked alone. The air tingled as if his presence awakened something buried deep beneath the ground. He followed the pull across the hilltop to a field now overgrown with weeds, but faintly glowing under moonlight. There, hidden beneath a broken hatch, was the entrance to an underground lab. His lab. His origin. The door creaked open, sparks trailed behind him as he stepped inside. The walls were scorched with old memories, lab coats discarded, terminals shattered. And in the center of the room, humming faintly, stood a device Nicholas had never seen before, an electrical resonance detector. He touched it. It flared to life, scanning his pulse, his DNA, his core. A voice crackled through the intercom. "Power level, source class, lineage confirmed." Nicholas froze. "Confirmed to what?" he muttered. And then he heard it, a voice not from a speaker, but from the darkness ahead. "Come home, Nicholas." He spun, fist charged, but there was no one there. Only shadows. "Who's there?" "Don't be afraid. I'm family." The lights flickered, and then silence. Nicholas pressed forward into the corridor. Each room whispered secrets, glimpses of files, video logs. His father shielding him during a breach, his mother arguing with scientists about pulling him out too soon, blueprints labeled NXX4. He wasn't just born, he was engineered. A sudden rumble shook the lab. Nicholas ran toward the sound and burst into a chamber still partially intact. And there she was, his mother, alive, or at least a projection of her, a memory loop playing against the curved glass wall. "My sweet boy," she said, placing a hand on the glass. "If you're seeing this, you've found your way back. I'm so sorry. We tried to protect you. We tried to keep them from using you." Nicholas reached out, but they came anyway. They wanted your power. We wouldn't let them. Behind her in the video, the scene erupted, guards storming in, lights flashing. "You were taken before we could say goodbye." The footage glitched and ended. Nicholas dropped to his knees. The hum of the lab quieted. For a moment, it was just him and silence. Then a door creaked open behind him. "Nicholas," Pine called gently, "we've got company." And Nicholas stood and wiped the tears off his cheek before Pine could see. "I found him," he whispered, "or what's left." Pine stepped through the cracked doorway, pine cones still hovering defensively around him like satellites. His expression softened when he saw the screen behind Nicholas, frozen on the final frame of Nicholas's mother, hand pressed to the glass. "You sure you want to go deeper?" Pine asked. "Something doesn't feel right down here." Nicholas didn't answer with words. He walked past Pine and toward the elevator shaft that had flickered online when the memory loop ended. The lift descended in silence, metal walls buzzing faintly with residual energy. At the bottom, they stepped into a cavern lined with cables that pulsed like veins. It didn't feel like a lab anymore. It felt like something alive. A voice echoed in the dark. "Still chasing shadows, Nicholas?" The air stiffened. Nicholas clenched his fists. "Who are you?" The shadow shifted, forming into a human shape made of smoke and static, a twisted version of Nicholas. Older, colder. "I'm what you could become," it said, "if you stop pretending you're not one of us." The creature lunged, but Nicholas reacted faster. Arcs of electricity surged from his palms and slammed the figure back. It dissipated, then reformed instantly. "You were designed to channel power, not emotions. They made you soft." "Wrong," Nicholas growled. "They made me strong enough to feel." A battle erupted in the underground chamber. Electric arcs, exploding pine cones, echoing screams. Pine leapt into the fray, dodging spectral claws and hurling bursts of rhythm-charged sound from his chest. But the shadow wasn't alone. From the darkness emerged figures, twisted reflections of Nicholas's family, glitching, corrupted eyes glowing red. "Trauma constructs," Pine said through gritted teeth. "It's trying to break you." Nicholas's pulse rose. He blasted one of the phantoms to ash, then turned to face the original. "I'm not a monster," he said. "I'm a son." Suddenly, the chamber walls lit up, memories playing like old film strips. His mother reading him stories. His father humming lullabies. A moment at age 4 when Nicholas had accidentally short-circuited the kitchen lights, and his parents had laughed, not scolded. "You weren't afraid of me," Nicholas whispered. The shadow hissed. "They were lying. They used you." "No," he said, stronger now. "You're the lie." And with one final surge, he fired everything he had, light, sound, emotion, into the core of the projection. It shattered. The static melted away, and Nicholas fell to his knees, breathing hard. I knelt beside him. "It's over." Nicholas looked up at him. "No," he said, "it's just beginning." Later that night, back on the surface, Nicholas sat atop the hill alone. He held the last photo from the album, tattered but intact, his parents' arms around him, smiling like they had all the time in the world. He traced the edge of the picture. "I'm not becoming what they feared," he said. "I'm becoming who they hoped I'd be." Behind him, the wind shifted. A voice called, "Nicholas Trouble." Nicholas turned toward the voice and saw Bailey spring across the hilltop, flanked by Pine's crew, Wyram, Thisto, and a breathless Aurelia. "The last signal triggered something," Bailey said, catching his breath. "Something woke up." "What kind of something?" Nicholas asked. Pine stepped forward, pulling a faintly glowing pine cone from his belt. "It's not a what, it's someone, and they're looking for you." Back at the old radio tower near the ravine, a low hum pulsed through the soil. Vines vibrated. Metal trembled. A figure stood at the base, half machine, half man, feeding off the currents still leaking from the lab below. He wore a cracked Sprunki emblem on his chest. His name was Cinder, and he had once trained beside Nicholas's father. Now, he wanted Nicholas to replace him. "He's absorbing energy from the underground chamber," Thisto said as the group peered through binoculars from the ridge. Cinder raised a hand. The tower lights flickered and bent toward him like iron filings pulled by a magnet. "He's tapping into something deeper," Wyram added, "and fast." Nicholas clenched his fist. "Then we stop him before he burns the whole grid." "No," Pine said carefully. "We talk first. He might know more about your family." Nicholas hesitated, then nodded. As they approached, Cinder turned without surprise. "I was wondering when you'd come," he said. Nicholas stood tall. You were at the lab. You knew my parents." "I knew them better than you did." Cinder's voice was sharp but not cruel, just cold. "They tried to contain you," he continued, "suppress your potential. I've seen what we can become when unleashed. I'm not interested in becoming a weapon." "But you already are," Cinder said. "I just want to aim you in the right direction." Nicholas stepped forward, energy dancing at his fingertips. You're not here to guide me. You're here to use me." Cinder smirked. "Then let's skip the lecture." He lifted his hand, and the ground exploded. The team scattered. Bailey launched a sound wall. Wyram dove into shadow. Nicholas leapt through the smoke, grappling with Cinder in midair, electricity flashing like lightning caught in a cage. You still think you're not a monster, Cinder growled. I'm not, Nicholas shouted back. Then prove it. Don't kill me. They crashed to the ground, dirt spraying. Nicholas stood first. Cinder chuckled from the dust. You're more like me than you want to admit. Maybe, Nicholas said, but I remember love. That's something you gave up a long time ago. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the chaos. Imba. It was Aurelia, her voice amplified, trembling with power. She held up something small. A ring. Nicholas, she said softly, your mother gave this to me. She trusted me to return it when you were ready. He stared. The same silver band from the photo album, slightly bent, still warm somehow. His breath caught, and in that moment, something shifted. Not in him, in Cinder. The man blinked, lowered his arms. I remember that ring, he said, voice cracking. My father wore one just like it. Nicholas looked at him, truly looked, and saw it. Grease. I lost him, Cinder whispered. To the same people who took your mother? Then help us, Nicholas said, stepping forward. But Cinder looked away. I can't. I've done too much. You can still choose. Cinder didn't answer. He just vanished into static, leaving behind scorched grass and silence. Nicholas clutched the ring, Aurelia's hand still wrapped around his. I won't become what he is, he said. Aurelia smiled. You won't, because we're with you. Above them, the stars blinked to life, but in the distance, thunder rumbled. Not a storm, a signal. Someone or something else was coming. And this time it wouldn't ask questions first. The next day felt like the calm between heartbeats. But everyone knew the storm was coming. Nicholas stood alone at the ridge overlooking the ruins of the underground lab. The silver ring from his mother glinted faintly on his finger. He turned it slowly, trying to steady the rhythm of his thoughts. Cinder had vanished, but something else had awakened when Nicholas connected with the lab's core. Something darker, more ancient. And it was moving. Back at Pine's hideout, the team was quiet. Pine sat in the center of the room, eyes closed, meditating with a halo of pine cones gently rotating above him. Bailey paced, arms folded. We should be preparing, not waiting. Aurelia looked up from the tablet. I'm tracking irregular power surges. All signs point to the eastern node fields. Something's drawing from the same source Nicholas activated. It's not Cinder, Nicholas said softly from the doorway. It's worse. They all turned. Worse than a corrupted Sprunki? Bailey asked. Nicholas nodded. It's not after control. It's after everything. That night the sky turned red, lightning without clouds, tremors without cause. Nicholas stood on the balcony of the hideout, watching the hills pulse like a living heartbeat. Then a scream, far off, metallic, like the echo of a broken song. They followed it to the fields, once filled with musical energy, reactors now long dormant, but something had resurrected them. At the center stood a massive figure, twisted and towering, born from failed prototypes, corrupted data, and grief left unchecked. It was called Null, and it wore the face of Nicholas's father, distorted ghost-like, glitching with static. No, Nicholas whispered. That's not him. Null spoke with multiple voices. Nicholas, you woke me, you led me here, we are one. I'm not you, Nicholas said, stepping forward. But Null's arms cracked open like turbines. You don't get to deny me. I am your potential, your unchecked power, your endless grief, your rage given form. I remember who I am, Nicholas growled. Do you? Null hissed. Then prove it, stop me. The ground split. A wave of sonic distortion ripped toward the team. Pine deflected it with a burst of harmonic resonance, but it threw him back. Bailey screamed and launched into battle, Aurelia right behind him, singing a counter chord that lit the sky blue. Nicholas stayed still, watching, listen. Then he stepped forward. Everyone fall back, he said. What? Bailey shouted. I have to do this alone. Pine tried to rise. I'm not a monster, Nicholas said, but I was born to face one. And then he ran. The collision cracked the sky. Nicholas met Null with everything he had, light, sound, energy, emotion. He hit the ground, rolled, rose again, fists glowing, heart steady. Noel countered with shock waves that tore the grass from the earth. Nicholas dodged, weaved, channeled everything his parents taught him in the briefest memories he carried. "You are not him," he screamed. Noel staggered. "You're what I'd become if I let fear win." He surged forward, slammed his hand into Noel's core. And there, buried beneath the chaos, he saw it, a piece of his father, crying out for peace. Nicholas stopped. He closed his eyes, reached in, not with rage, but music. He hummed the tune from the memory loop, his father's lullaby. The core pulsed, then began to fracture. Noel let out one final howl, then collapsed, the storm unraveling in light. The ground steadied, the wind stilled, and Nicholas stood panting, surrounded by ash and silence. Aurelia rushed to him first, wrapping him in an embrace. "You did it," she whispered. "No," Nicholas said softly, "we did." He looked around, Pine, Bailey, Wyram, Thesto, all rising, bruised but alive. "We faced our worst selves," Nicholas said, "and we didn't give in." Above them, the stars blinked gently back into view, and for the first time, Nicholas felt whole. The next morning, the world was quiet again. Not the kind of silence that comes before something dark, but the kind that settles after a storm has passed. Nicholas stood at the hilltop where Noel had fallen. The wind ran soft through the grass, whispering like old friends. The soil still bore the marks of battle, but there was no corruption left, only traces of light where memory and love had pushed back the dark. He slid the ring his mother gave him back onto his finger and exhaled. "I kept my promise." Back at the Sprunki base, the crew gathered for the first time without fear, shadowing their steps. Pine floated into the center of the room with a slow spin, pine cones orbiting in perfect harmony again. No red alerts, no spikes in resonance, just normal. Bailey grinned. "Well, as normal as we get." Wyram added, "I ran scans. The echo field that Null hijack is resetting, slowly, but we'll be able to stabilize it." Thisto high-fived him silently, eyes bright. Aurelia turned to Nicholas and, "You?" He looked at them all, his chosen family. "I'm still figuring that out," he said, but I know this. Not a monster." She smiled. "We never thought you were." Later that day, Nicholas returned to the field where it all began. The sun was low, shadows stretched long. He knelt and buried the broken ring core of Noel beside the old photo album, now wrapped in a cloth, with his parents' initials stitched into the edge. "This isn't a grave," he whispered. "It's a seed." He stood, and behind him the wind lifted, carrying music. Real music. Not from speakers or soundboards, but from the land itself. That night, the group threw a celebration, not for the battle, but for what they'd all overcome. Colorful lights blinked through trees. Beats bounced off rooftops. Laughter threaded through the night air like melody. Nicholas danced with Aurelia under the stars. Billy spun vinyls with wild grins. Pine drifted by, offering sparkly pine cone smoothies. And as the music rose, so did something else. Well, at one point, Nicholas wandered to the edge of the party. He pulled the old photograph from his jacket, now cleaned and restored. His mother, his father, himself. A soft light flickered at its edges. "I hope I made you proud," he whispered. A gust of wind passed over him, and just for a moment, it felt like someone squeezed his shoulder. The next day, the Sprunki crew began rebuilding the old lab, not as a fortress or weapon vault, but as a school, a place to train new generations of gifted beings, a place to teach them that power wasn't what made someone dangerous, loneliness was. Nicholas volunteered to teach the first class. His lesson was simple. You are not what they fear. You are what you choose to be. In time, the legend of Nicholas grew, not as a monster, not as a weapon, but as a boy who walked through lightning and came out human.